What kind of advice would you give to parents that are expecting or have little kids that are getting ready for that vaccine schedule? And it's intimidating to go into the doctor and say anything but, yes, let's do this. You know, to say, no, I want to look at it more. Tell me more about this, because even you said you got so much resistance and there was such an arrogance about the whole program. What do you say to parents that want to at least look at their options and are feeling resistance from the doctor?
Well, if parents already feel like they're inclined to not vaccinate, then I tell them that they should go talk to other parents who have children that are, 20 years old or older, that they've never vaccinated. Talk to them about their children's health. Ask them what they did when their children got sick. Ask them what kind of health care they got. And ask them, what their stress level was and how often they actually needed the medical system. And usually once that conversation starts, parents realize that there is certainly a way to raise a child outside of the medical system, unless you have a type 1 diabetic or a genetic disease. But I'm not talking about those people. It's a whole other ballgame. It's the minority. Because most of us are, genetically destined to have a normal, happy life, assuming that we don't have that many insults to us when we're born and when we're growing up. But the medical system has come in and pretty much taken over midwifery. And then the pediatric system has come in and taken over what grandparents used to do, which is to give good advice to their children that was passed down from generation to generation. So my advice is to seriously consider whether you want a pediatrician at all. And if you do want one, that you're going to have to really hunt for one that understands the problems with antibiotics, understands the problems with, and even a family practitioner or an obstetrician that understands the problems with birth intervention, and that they're able to keep their hands off their prescription pad. And if they can't, then do what a lot of parents do, which is to go to chiropractors and go there as your primary health, because unless your insurance company mandates that you have a pediatrician on board, these well baby visits are a joke. If your baby is well when they go in, chances are they're not going to be well a few months afterwards because of what they do on that well baby visit. When we were growing up, we didn't have well baby visits. We had sick visits, and they were few and far between if we needed something. And probably they were too often as it is, because most of us will get better without antibiotics. But doctors were so enthused about antibiotics for so many decades. They're finally starting to see the light about antibiotics. But my advice to parents is to read as widely as you can, because I find that the higher these parents educate themselves, no matter what their educational level is, whether they've never graduated high school, that's irrelevant. So long as you can think and read as widely as you can. Read everything the CDC has to say, read everything I have to say, alternative medical doctors talking about vaccines, and then come to your own determination, because they're the ones that have to live with the outcome. Because there is no sure bet. You can choose not to vaccinate, and you might be the kid who ends up with measles and can get encephalitis. I think the risk is extremely rare, because if you understand how to feed your child and how to use, the supplements that we have available to us and breast milk, the chance of your child having encephalitis after measles is almost zero. So I find that the more parents educate themselves, the less anxiety they have, the less inclined they are to go to a doctor. Usually they go once to a doctor, they feel like they get burned and they never want to go back. I mean, that's how bad the medical system has gotten, that it's so hard to find a doctor that just doesn't make you feel slapped around by the time you leave there. So I think that we need to empty out the waiting rooms of these doctors until they can learn how to control themselves and learn what's controlling them. And that as long as they're getting kickbacks from insurance companies and the government to vaccinate, that they're actually not able to think clearly about what the real pathology may be when you really do need them. And they're dangerous. Stay away from them.